All right, drone video for a pretty spectacular property at Shoals Lake, 10-acre property. It's tract 4 at the tracks at State Line Cove. We're looking due east over the property. You can see the lake off to the east there, and this property does directly border the take line at its entire east side borders the take line. So you've got access to State Line Cove and the water there and all the Corps of Engineer land. Pretty phenomenal. We've spun around, now we're looking westerly. We're actually on the northern part of a large peninsula. So we've got the lake on the west and the east, as you'll see in a second here. Well, depending on how we do it. That's Mo Arc Road, the paved road. Property sits due east of Mo Arc Road. You can see the red truck. The power line, very important. Power line directly on the property. You do have power on this property, so that's fantastic. It is tough to beat having a physical power line on the property. If you need it, you don't have to hassle with it, and if you don't need it, you're still adding value to the property by having it there. So that's phenomenal. Gorgeous open meadow on this property. This is a wintertime video. This was basically the middle of winter. So you can see that most of the leaves are off the trees, but it gives us a great chance to look at the property and really see how the ground lays. That barn you see on the left is just off the property. That's on a different tract. So we're slowly heading easterly. If you haven't already seen the aerial maps and whatnot for this, you've got to check that out. The property lays so nicely. The ground itself is unbelievably usable. I mean, the Ozarks are known for ups and downs and hills and hollers, and there are a couple spots on this where there's some slope to it, but very minimal. I think the northeast corner a little bit, and then actually as you're coming to the property on Mo Arc, part of the frontage feels like you are driving uphill a little bit, but then when you get to the driveway, it levels out nicely. So you do have direct paved frontage. You do have direct frontage on the take line for about 380 feet. The entire east side fronts the take line. There's a trail with just east of the property, so within that take line, within the Corps of Engineer land, that you can take right down to State Line Cove. So I mean, it's a unique situation. It's a trail that's really only accessible to the handful of people who own tracks out here or at the tracks of State Line Cove. And by the way, there's only, I believe, 6 tracks within that little subdivision. It's a very small little private subdivision. There, if you look about the middle of the screen, you can see what looks like a trail. And so that trail is going to go down to the actual State Line Cove where we're heading right now. It follows it about the middle of that little ridge as we're going easterly. And because it's wintertime, they've dropped the water level way down in the lake. That's about as low as you'll see Shoals Lake right there. But you can see where the water level generally is in the spring and summertime. But even with the water level that low, we would still be able to put jet skis or potentially a pontoon boat into the water right there at State Line Cove. You see that fence that's kind of jutting out of the cove there, goes right to the water and actually into the water. That's the same type of pipe fencing that you see on the west side of this property. That's part of the original Buffalo Ranch. This entire peninsula was, we were told, was a buffalo ranch many decades ago. And so you still see some different kind of cool things that they had for the buffalo. So now we're looking back to the west. We're heading west, so we're essentially just about over the property. The property is mostly that gorgeous meadow, but it does have timber on the east side, timber on the west side, and then a few trees here and there. There's kind of that line of trees in the meadow. A good portion of that's on the property. So we had this video in the file, and this is not a property that we've been in a rush to get on the market. It's one of our all-time favorite tracts. It's 10 acres in size. I mean, it just has so much going for it. Even if it didn't border the take line, this would be easily one of our favorite properties. But the fact that it does border the take line at Shoals Lake just makes it head and shoulders above just about anything else we've ever been able to offer. But anyway, we had this video in the file that was a good drone video, showed the property well. The major problem with this is it doesn't show that the property does have its own driveway because it hadn't been installed when this video was taken. So you can see the red truck, you can see the power line, and then if you follow that power line, just before you get to the paved road, to Mo Ark Road, you'll see that pipe fence. And what was later done was a couple sections of that fence were removed, and there was an actual driveway installed into the property. So there you're looking at that pipe fence. I believe part of that was removed, even though the driveway is maybe not right there. It's very close to there. But all that to say that we've added a video here in just a few seconds, which does show the driveway after it's been installed. It's another drone video, and it's going to be actually, I believe, a summertime drone video. There we go. So now we're taking off. We're just about in the exact same spot where we left the last video, which is to say the west side. And the white Tahoe is parked at the start of the driveway. There's Mo Ark Road as we look east. So driveway was installed, culvert was installed, several loads of gravel were installed, so that's good to go. We're looking east. You can see that there's a kind of a little farmstead off to the right or off to the south. And then off to the left, just off of this property, well, a few hundred feet off this property, you can see that kind of a gravel driveway off to the left on the property to the north. There's an old barn there, which is not on this property. It's not on track 4. It's on track 3. But someone had kind of spruced up that barn and prettied it all up, and so there was some activity over there, which was cool. So now zooming in on State Line Cove. In this video, I don't know that we actually fly over to the lake the way we did in the last video, because although this is a very similar format, it's actually a different drone, and I think they were having some issues with the range or with the controller, so they didn't want to go and get directly over the lake really and lose contact with the drone, because that would be bad. But we wanted to add this video in because it's nice to see it in the summertime. We definitely wanted people to see that, hey, this does have its own driveway and approach now. So you could see that in the video, obviously. The hunting out here is great. The fishing is just top notch. I mean, Shoals Lake has been known for years and years and years as just a top tier lake, not only for fishing, but boating, jet skiing, tubing, scuba diving, actually. I mean, all kinds of stuff. We've jet skied in the lake. We've used a pontoon boat, and we pulled a tube in the lake with the pontoon boat and with the jet skis, actually. Haven't put a bass boat in yet. We just haven't been down here with the bass boat, but we have been down with the pontoon boat and with jet skis, and we put those in right there at State Line Cove by taking the trail from the east side of the property down to the State Line Cove. The far left of the screen, you can see another trail, and that's actually, I believe there are 6 tracts in the tracts of State Line Cove, and that trail is not part of the little farmstead. It's further south than that. We can't see it anymore. But that was another way that we've used to get to State Line Cove, is that little trail which kind of crosses over tract 6. So it's just been convenient, and track 6 is not something that had been offered for sale. So, feel free to use that. As long as that tract hasn't been sold, and as of now, we still haven't offered that. Mainly because it does have that trail, and we like to be able to give people that option. But even without that, this is one of the very few tracts that you have the ability to go from your property down to the State Line Cove and the primitive kind of boat launch right there, which is amazing. I mean, just an unbelievably cool property. This is one that we thought about hanging on to indefinitely, with the idea that someday, build a house or a cabin on this one, and then maybe sell that, maybe keep that. I mean, you just never know. It's just a gorgeous property. So here we can see a tiny, tiny bit of State Line Cove. That little islet protruding toward us, that's where the trail goes right down, and then that's where we've launched the jet skis and pontoon boats. It's very gradual, and it's hard packed ground going gradually into the lake. So it's been a natural boat launch. Whereas the last video, we saw the water level at its lowest. In this video, it looks like the water level has just been raised up, because I could see several little kind of piles of small sticks and whatnot that had collected at the shoreline, and that's something that can happen just for a few days or weeks after the water level's been raised up. I've got about a minute and a half left on this one, but yeah, such a nice property. If you've been looking for something on the lake, something with paved frontage, something with power, something that has a ton of level usable ground, in addition to a ton of meadow area, then this is a nice property. Check out the other videos. Play around with the interactive map that we'll have in the listing page. That's really handy. You can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can change it to a topo map. You can do all kinds of cool stuff. So that's just really neat to play with. And there we are, parked at about the start of the driveway on the property, on the west side of the property. Super cool. Gaining a little altitude and looking west. And that's the same lake. That's Bull Shoals Lake. It's just gone around the peninsula and back up again. It's really a family-friendly lake. I mean, you see people pulling tubes, and I mean, people just seem considerate of one another on the lake for whatever reason. We've been on lakes where that's not the case, but it is on Bull Shoals Lake. Certainly in this section of Bull Shoals Lake. And then looking back again to the east, property is just a little left of center. There we go. So InstantAcres.com, if you have any questions, let us know. We would love to talk to you about Tract 4 at the tracks of State Line Cove if it's still available. InstantAcres.com.